Did you even know that Indiana has a poet laureate? You're probably familiar with national poet laureates such as Robert Frost and Gwendolyn Brooks, but now Indiana has one of its own. We caught up with Norbert Krapf in some of his familiar surroundings.
Most people know Jasper as a German-American community in southern Indiana, known for its large cathedral, St. Joseph's, the traditional downtown square, and the annual Strassenfest. But Jasper is also the childhood home of this year's Indiana Poet Laureate, Norbert Krapf.
I'll take 2 chicken sandwiches. The Poet Laureate in the state of Indiana has a job of being the ambassador for poetry, for going into the schools, for reading poems in the schools and talking about poetry and encouraging students to write poetry, and then to create as much of a sense of community as I can. Beer, Beethoven, more beer, and then Bach. Toccata and fugue in D minor rattles the front windows. Every time I write a poem, it's like I wake up to something. One of the important parts of the process of writing a poem is to see something around you clearly for the first time. And you find, all of a sudden you see this significance that you hadn't seen before. In a church built of sandstone, hauled from a farm beside the banks of the Patoka River by German Catholic pioneers whose names you inherited.
The subject of much of Norbert's writing is inspired by his childhood community and its German ancestry.
It's changed in ways that all places have changed because everything is becoming homogenized in the same strip malls or in millions of towns all over the universe. But I think that the most interesting places are those places which have held on to some kind of sense of their identity and are different from others and are proud of it. Not in a nationalistic or jingoistic way, but in a way that being in a place gives you a sense of well-being and a sense of belonging, and I think that's very important. I'm Norb Krapf. I grew up here. How are you? Yeah, my dad used to come in here a lot.
What was his name?
Clarence Krapf. Yeah. The time has come to come home, Mother. I want to hear the hickory nut fall through crisp leaves and splatter onto the ground. I want to hear the turtle dove coo in the pines at dusk. The time has come to come home, Mother. I can hear your quiet voice sing those words, and the tune is right. I think a poet has to look inside the self, but has to come back out of the self and relate it to other people and be connected with the world outside. You get to a certain point where you just don't want to keep playing games with people. You know, you have only a certain amount of time left, and you better get on with it, well, with the amount of time that you have. And for me, getting on with it is just paring it down to the essentials. That's what I'm working on. So I can't really separate poetry from thinking about family history and German heritage and nature too, really, is a big part of it for me. I was immersed in nature as a child. Both my parents grew up on farms. So the rural world and the rural life has remained important to me, and I still feel that pull. Maybe I needed to write poetry to sort of hold on to what had been back there. I'm going to be reading the chapter The Born in my memoir, The Ripest Moments of Southern Indiana Childhood. In the summer, a barn is a warm womb. Uncle Alfred Schmidt's barn was warm, dark, quiet, secret, and secure. If you found the opportunity to be in the loft alone, you swam in a slow current of tranquility, reclining on your back, facing the escalator opening, and watching the rays of light slant onto the rough floorboards or bales of hay. The air was warm, moist, and you floated off to sleep. When you awoke, you did not remember where you were. It was hard to rise to your feet, and find your balance. And when you staggered out of the barn, the sun blinded you. It took a while before your vision readjusted, you recovered your step, and felt the impulse to shape words with your tongue.
For more information about his schedule, visit his website at craftpoetry.com.
And here's his book, the one that he was actually reading from, The Ripest Moments. Another interesting fact is that Norbert was nominated for a Pulitzer Prize for another poetry collection called Somewhere in Southern Indiana, the Country I Came From. So, interesting man.
Another gem in Indiana.
Exactly.
Thanks, Ann.